Welcome, Mama. My name is Sam. I am a dedicated matrescence educator, a passionate advocate of motherhood, and a mom, just like you. On this channel, we dive deep into the world of matrescence and explore the incredible, yet often very challenging transitions of motherhood. I believe that you deserve to enjoy this. I believe that you deserve to be seen, and most importantly, I believe that you deserve to find yourself through motherhood instead of losing yourself to it. So, together, we will embark on the journey of uncovering the magic of creating yourself and embracing your mom era. If you're here for that, please hit that subscribe button and let's jump into today's topic. Today, we are talking about the 5 things I wish I would have known about matrescence before I had my son, and therefore the 5 things I think everybody should know to some extent. And as a disclaimer, I would not be here without the research of some incredible individuals. All of their research is listed below, and as always, a huge thank you. All right, so the first thing I wish I would have known about matrescence is what it is. If you don't know what matrescence is, same. I made a video here talking about what matrescence is and why it matters so much to me, but the TLDR is that it is the transition into motherhood from being just a woman or a maiden to becoming a mother. And this is meant to happen. This happens. It is universal but unique, meaning everyone experiences it to some degree, but the way in which you experience it is determined by some external circumstances as well as who you are as a person. I didn't know that I was supposed to change. I didn't know that changing was okay in motherhood. It sounds kind of silly, but we're told so often to just bounce back, or that we will bounce back, or that you're still you, but you're like, no, I'm not. I think that coupled with my own personal expectations of myself, I thought I was going to just bounce back to my normal life, back to my routines, just with a baby in tow. And that wasn't the case for me. And I think having a better understanding of matrescence and what I was going through would have helped me to help me in a lot of ways throughout my postpartum experience and my first few years of motherhood. Number 2 are all the areas that change can happen through matrescence. This will depend on the researcher that you're looking into, but Nikki McCune, who is my teacher and the creator of the Seasons of Matrescence model, she has 8 domains of change, 8 different areas of life in which we may change throughout matrescence. Those are physical, cultural, relationship, psychological, political, career, economical, and spiritual. Again, the domain in which you change or change the most, or the ones you don't change in, will all be dependent on you and your circumstances. But for me, I did not anticipate the changes in my life to be so widespread. And the 2 that hit me more than I anticipated were my relationships and the cultural changes that I experienced. For me, I had a lot of close friends who didn't have kids, and it was really hard for me to relate to them after having my son. There were a lot of expectations placed upon me that I could not meet under my current circumstances. And because I didn't understand the changes happening within me, I also couldn't express to them why I couldn't meet those and what I was going through. Also really impacted my relationship with my husband. He wasn't someone who was really enthusiastic about having kids. He did not want them, but didn't necessarily want them. And so I felt a really big burden on myself to be the one to do everything, that I was the one who should be able to do this. And I think even outside of the specific circumstances with my husband, a lot of times women carry that burden of, I'm the one who has to do this, I'm the mom, I should know how to do this. And that weighed really heavily on me. And it did put a little bit of a divide in our relationship. Now my husband is the most enthusiastic dad. He loves my son more than anything. They are best friends, and we've come a long way, and we have a really great relationship and a parenting relationship. But in those early days, we did struggle. It made our relationship very, very different, and I didn't anticipate that as much as it did happen. And then culturally, there are certain things that when you become a mom, it's like the curtain has been lifted and you see things a lot differently. Often when we're pregnant, people who are moms tell us, just wait, or you have no idea. And that can be really annoying when you're pregnant. And I have a whole host of thoughts on that I'll talk about in another video. Spoiler alert, I don't think saying just wait or you have no idea is helpful at all, but I do think there are ways that this can be helpful to kind of talk to moms who are expecting. I just don't think those are the ways to do it. Anyway, moms say you really don't know until you know, and it's true. You don't know what it feels like to be a mom until you're a mom. You don't know what a certain phase of motherhood is like until you're in that phase of motherhood. You can anticipate, you can study, you can research, you can feel as prepared as possible, but you really don't know until you're in that. And that's how it was for me with the cultural aspect of motherhood. I had a lot of expectations on myself, on motherhood in general, and it was extremely different. And I was very much woken up to the treatment of moms, how challenging it is, how thankless, and how all these cultural pressures of who you should be and what you should do and the expectations you're supposed to meet, but yet society doesn't help us get there at all. It actually makes it harder for us to meet those expectations because they're so conflicting, and society doesn't support those standards that it is setting for us. And so I did not expect that shift. I did not expect it to hit me as hard as it did. And that's why I'm here, is a lot of that cultural change I couldn't stand, and I had to learn more and share more about it. But those are just two of the areas of change where I did not anticipate the change, and they definitely hit me harder. And again, it's why I'm here now. Number 3 is that this takes time. It takes time. And it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen just once. Matrescence is cyclical. It happens again and again with each new birth, with each new child added to our family, and with each new transitional period of motherhood. Just as a side note, matrescence is not exclusive to people who have had a pregnancy or given birth. It also occurs with people who have gone through an adoption, surrogacy, or become a parent through becoming a step parent, or any other means of becoming a mother. Matrescence doesn't happen at birth either. Matrescence often happens long before, in that preconception period where you're thinking about having a child or thinking about bringing a child into your family. And then it continues throughout that process of pregnancy or adoption. And then it really, in my opinion, kind of kicks up in that postpartum period. Matrescence really occurs through the act of mothering. So all those different things you experience for the first time, that stripping away of who we once were into the becoming, that's when matrescence is actually happening. It's not a one-time event. It's not just at birth you become a mother. It really happens over the course of time. It can take up to 2 years for a lot of women to really feel fully integrated as a mom, if not longer for some people. In the meantime, that mother mind, or your mothering, can really take a center stage in your brain, and it can be all consuming. You may think about motherhood way more than you ever thought you would, and you might not think about things you once thought about, which can be really disorienting. And so in that time frame, I think it's a really unique opportunity to let those things fall away and to reestablish who we want to be. And again, that's something we'll talk about here towards the end of the video. But it takes time. It could take up to 2 years. If you're not feeling like yourself, or you still have this kind of lost sense of self, that is normal. But I do think there are things we can do about that. And number 4, this is a rite of passage. Like I said, this is a transitional period. A rite of passage is going from one phase of life to another. And when we think about traditional rites of passage, think of things like graduations, weddings, anything that really takes you from one phase of life to another. Often these things are ceremonialized. They help to recognize you as this new version of yourself. When you graduate high school, you are now an adult. You have gone through this transition. Welcome to adulthood. We'll see you at college. When you're married, it's the recognition that you are not a single person anymore. Now you are married, and you're in this partnership. When we have a child, it is a transition. It is a rite of passage, going from being just one person to being a mom, and it's often not recognized in any real meaningful way. The closest thing we have to a ceremony around motherhood in most cases is a baby shower, which is wonderful. I think moms deserve to be showered and deserve to be loved on, but often what it actually is us identifying as a mom through things, saying, oh, I'm a mom now because I have this baby carrier, or I'm a mom now because I have this bassinet in my room, or I'm a mom now because there's bottles in my closet. And I just list all those things because those are the things I remember distinctly being like, oh, I'm a mom now. And I do think there's some validity to that. I think it's fun and exciting to have all of those things and to start feeling like your space is representative of the change that you're feeling within you. However, things don't make a mom. You don't become a mom just because you have a bassinet in your room. And you don't need a bassinet in your room to become a mom. And so this idea of like buying our way into motherhood, which isn't necessary and it's not representative of that change. And not that those things aren't fun and wonderful, but they're not necessary. And if we're being honest, I bet you only used half of the things you got at your baby shower. Some of the things, very important, I'm sure, but it is just this excess and it really feeds into just consumerism when we really think about it. And so how do we honor moms through this rite of passage? Well, there are certain rituals you could do. There are some ceremonies that are like mother becoming ceremonies. They're more spiritual based and I think they're beautiful and wonderful. I have never done one. If it were offered to me, I probably would, but it also isn't necessarily the way that I process and the way that I change. I'm more pragmatic. I set goals. I do a lot of inner work and I need it to be a little more concrete for me. Not saying that that can't be that. I don't know enough about that, but I do know a lot of people who do. So if you're interested, let me know. But for me, journaling, therapy, coaching programs, and different workshops were key for me to embrace that transition and to recognize it because I needed to work through it. I needed to write it down. I needed to talk it out. I needed to work through that transition. And once I was able to do that, that's when I finally started to feel like myself again. Not that old version of me, but this new self that I had created throughout this rite of passage. Number 5 is a tough one, but very true, and I really wish I would have known this. It's that it's normal to feel grief in that postpartum period. In Nikki McCoon's model, Seasons of Matrescence, she mirrors the 4 seasons with matrescence. And often the postpartum period shows up as a winter for a lot of us. And that was definitely the case for me. Who I was had fallen away in my pregnancy in that autumn. And now here I was, this bare tree with this blank slate. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what life was supposed to look like. I didn't know who I was supposed to be. And I missed the simplicity of my old life. I missed my old life. I missed knowing who I was. I missed my routines. And that grief and sadness and that loss I felt made me feel so much shame because I didn't think that was normal. I thought that I was supposed to be in this bliss and so happy. And I thought that grieving the old version of me, my old life, meant that I didn't love my son. And that was the furthest thing from the truth. I knew I was head over heels in love with my son. Anybody who has ever seen us together knows I am currently head over heels in love with my son and always will be. But I felt like I couldn't be in love with him if I was feeling the sadness. So I tried so hard to push that away. I tried so hard to not acknowledge it, but it was true. I didn't know who I was anymore. And I was tired. I was sad. Things were hard. I didn't know what I was doing. And I think that's the case for a lot of us. No matter how much you prepare and learn and plan, you don't know what you're doing a lot of the time. Every day presents a new challenge and you're trying to figure it out as you go. There's no other way to mother other than to figure it out as you go. You cannot know enough. You cannot plan enough. And that sense of where am I, what am I doing is really represented in that liminal space of winter. So if you feel that, it is normal. Motherhood is hard and those postpartum days can be so isolating and just dark and sad, and it is okay. Doesn't make it any easier, but recognizing that it is this season, right? It's just winter. That can really give some hope that spring is on the other side. And while it's okay to feel this, it doesn't have to last forever. And I think there are things that we can do in that time frame to help us get to spring a little bit sooner. And that brings me to a bonus number 6. I think that lost sense of self and everything falling away leads us to a really wonderful opportunity to change and to define who we want to be in this new season of life. And that's why I created my Mom Era course, which is there to help you unpack all the ways in which you've changed, to acknowledge that change, and then to lay the foundation for who you want to be in your mom era, to discover your new values and how to integrate that into your life on a daily basis. So if you're interested in that, or one-on-one coaching, or you want more content, or you want to find me on social media, you can head to welcome-mama.com. It's all right there. I would love to have you. We're in the process of building this wonderful, empowering, inclusive community, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So please like, share, and subscribe this video. And again, welcome, Mama. I am so glad you're here. You deserve to enjoy this.